Welcome, guys, to this year's Ultimate Online Cosplay Championship podcast. This is our first episode, and today my co-host Chris Tock is on air with me, and we are going to be discussing the up-and-coming events for 2021, which is our next competition for this year. We're going to go ahead and talk about all of the differences that are going to exist this year versus last year and make sure that you guys are prepared and aware so you can focus on the competition and just make some amazing, incredible costumes. Chris, do you have anything to add to that?
Hi, I'm TockCustom. I was the host of the first Ultimate Online Cosplay Championship, and I will be the host of this year's, our second competition. And it's funny that just for the sake of this conversation, I still don't view this as a competition or a contest or a championship. I'm secretly using a contest to disguise this event. Like, it's, to me, it's just a celebration, and we're disguising it as a contest. So I thought you were frozen for a second, but you're sitting so still.
No, I'm just looking at you,
Okay.
and I like watching you talk.
Okay.
So it's pretty it's pretty
Anyway,
easy to get lost.
This truly is an international celebration for cosplayers, and we just happen to be able to showcase some of the most outrageous cosplays from around the world. Every country is welcome to participate, and this year there are some differences from last year that I think we'll discuss during this podcast. So however you would like to do that as the host, please, set us up for that.
So we need to recap with the original contest. So last year we started a contest for fun, as Chris said. We started a contest where it was like, let's give something back to the community and give them an opportunity while they're at home, sheltering, taking care of their families, to really push themselves in whatever way they needed to, and then have an opportunity to showcase whatever it has been that they've been working on. I know for me personally, like, going to conventions every single year, so much of it is cathartic for me because it's about being able to view and see the different costumes that people are wearing. Like, I love that process. And so in addition to that, I'm lucky enough to also get asked to judge a bunch of contests too. Well, last year I didn't get to judge contests. I also didn't get to really see a whole lot of costumes, right? And so we needed to change that. And so I got this call from this wonderful guy on the screen with me, and he said, hey, I was talking to Frostbite Cosplay, and he's got a bunch of resin that's going to go bad this year because he's not going to be working like his normal type of work. He's like, we want to do a contest, you in? And of course it's just like, heck yeah, let's do this. So we started working together. And how long did it take? How long did we have to really organize that, Chris?
I think we decided on literally the last day of April that we were going to do it. Frostbite reached out to me. I called 4 other people to be potential judges. I made a list of like 20 people, but every single person I asked said yes right away. And on my list, it was, obviously Frostbite because it was his idea.
Yeah.
And then, I said, I don't think I'm qualified to be part of this. And he said, no, I want you to be the host. So that's how I became the host, is he wanted me to run this. And so anyway, the next 4 phone calls I made were to the Egg Sisters, HokuProps, Evil Ted, and Jackie Kraft. I'm not forgetting anyone, I don't believe.
No.
So within about 15 minutes, we had our cast, and then we went into the process of, okay, how do we put on a show now? So by May 1st, I think we made a couple of graphics just with pictures of the judges and myself, posted it, and then put a website up with an application. And we had like a 2.5 week submission period.
Yeah, it was crazy.
With literally no notice. Like, we didn't tell we gave no one any heads up. We'd been in lockdown for about 2 months at the time. Maybe even less, actually. And yeah, we just put a website up, and we were like, we'll see if anyone enters. We just said we're going to have a master class and an intermediate class. And then, like, between you, and Frostbite and some of the other people. We had some cool ideas and gimmicks and prizes and trophies, and then we started getting like sponsorship calls and emails of companies that wanted to
everything moved super quick. Like, and then it was funny because at first, like the first thing that we were sitting there talking about was like, do you think we can get any sponsors to help out with some of the prizes, right? And then by the end of it was just like, do you think we have too many sponsors with too many prizes? And so the evolution over the period of time from start to finish, which as just discussed was very, very short.
Right.
We ended up in this situation where we had how many prizes was it total? Like, I know it was more than 20.
Oh God.
40.
Well, I mean, okay. So we had 6 prizes for,
well, we had the award we had the like primary awards,
right,
of course.
So it was 6 primary awards, and then.
But I'm talking about just things from sponsors.
Oh, there was. I can't even count.
Yeah.
But we had 16 sponsors, but each of them gave away several things.
Yeah.
It was like I got a phone call from Kawaii Mayhem yesterday, who was the first place intermediate, and she still hasn't gotten all of her prizes. Which is embarrassing to, and maybe I shouldn't have said that on this podcast because I don't want people to think that we're not going to follow through. But
well, if I recall correctly, though, we did say that it would be, it would be managed in like that current year.
Right.
So from the contest within 1 year, like that's our timeline to try and make sure everyone gets their stuff. And that's the problem, though, you guys.
Did we actually say a year?
I'm gonna just stick with that, and I think that that's a good kind of baseline for even this year,
good,
right?
Because I still have something I have to make for my judge's choice last year that I didn't have time to make. One of them I did, and I sent the sword to our friend in Slovenia, Ava.
Oh yeah.
I picked another person, and I have to make a custom bag for her, but she never told me what she wanted. So anyway, that's just nonsense details.
More and more as time goes on, as it's something that's absolutely exciting for me this year, though, is talking about like the judges award and having these different opportunities. I think one of the things that really stood out to me last year was the sponsorships just adding up and giving us a bunch of official stuff to give away. But in addition to that, it was all of the independent makers who gave stuff away as well. That was something that was really exciting because, not only are you getting like this opportunity to win prizes like airbrushes and so on and so forth, but you're also getting a chance to win something from makers like the Egg Sisters, for example, who were doing like a custom one-off piece for their Judge's Choice Award. That's something that for me was incredibly special because it's an award that has never been given before, and it's an award that will never be given again. It's unique. That quality to me is something that is exciting because the competition that we ran pulled all of these people, and because it's a community-based ran event, we got the community's makers involved, and they were taking part in it. That's something that doesn't just happen all the time.
Yeah. So yeah, like we'll have so last year we had, what was it? It was 5 judges plus the host plus 2 honorary judges. So that was 8, honorary thing. And I had 2 for some reason. I don't remember why, but I did. So there was 9.
Maybe you just couldn't like make a decision. So you were just I'm doing
actually,
2.
There is
and that's what's nice about the contest, though, is like that stuff's okay.
There's a reason I gave out 2 awards, and I'm not going to say it publicly. I'll tell you later, but
okay,
it would not be a good idea to share it. I don't know if I've ever even told you about it, but
I don't think you did. I don't think I have any idea.
I will tell you after this broadcast or after this podcast.
Yeah, and I promise I won't share.
So anyway, so yeah, this event this year is planned to be on May 15th at 5 o'clock Central Time. Last year we did it at 7 o'clock Central, but a lot of the folks in Europe were up until literally 4 or 5 in the morning because the show went on for like a long time.
Oh, I know it was 4 plus hours.
It was,
I think we had like
4
almost
hours.
4.5 hours.
So anyway, yeah, it's slotted to be on May 15th. We have 16 judges this year, which is it worth going over who the judges are?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
absolutely.
I need to pull up the actual graphic because there's so many. Sometimes I can't remember all of everyone's name, but thankfully,
I'm sitting here watching you talking, and then I'm also watching this video. And oh man, Dr. Sci-Fi, that guy is unreal.
That was a lot of fun. So, okay, so and this is in alphabetical order, by the way. So we have a number of on-camera judges that will be on camera doing live real-time commentary on all of the finalists, like you see above us behind me.
Yep.
And then there will be a number of honorary judges that send in pre-recorded videos of who they select as their judge's choice. And all of the judges on both sides will be voting, deliberating, selecting finalists and winners and all of that stuff, which is really cool.
Actually, let's point that out. So you mentioned the judges, and you mentioned that there's two specific types of judges. So I want to make sure that we clarify and people are kind of aware of what that is. So we've got a smaller group of on-screen judges, and these are just intended to be during the live stream. They're those who are available and those who we asked first. And then we've also got a second group, which are the honorary judges. Now, I want to make sure that people understand the distinction really is only that some are going to be on the live stream. When it comes to actually judging the competition itself, all of the judges, both on screen as well as honorary judges, are going to be using a point allocation system that we've got to determine who that winner is. So it's not just going to be the 8 or 10 judges that are on screen. It's going to be all of them actually choosing the winners. So that's something that is different this year versus last year. And that's just because when you have the opportunity to diversify your judging pool, think about it. We're going to have Samui-san from Brazil. His culture, his background, the things that he specializes in is unique to him. And so we wanted to make sure that we were taking as many different unique perspectives and giving that opportunity to make sure that we had such a wide, wide capacity for judges from just everywhere. It's something that's so different. I've never had a chance to have this broad of a judging group. It's awesome. It's more like a judging board. We're part of the judges board. I
have never heard of any event in person or online that has this large and powerful, or I can't think of a better word. Just absolutely wonderful cast of very talented judges than any other event I've ever heard of in person or online. Sorry, I was reading chat. I'll edit that out. For those of you in chat, I'll take a brief moment. We're recording a podcast, so we didn't want to interact with chat, but there's good people here watching, and it's as a broadcaster, I like how you take a bite of food.
No, you said you're editing
we're gonna edit this out, so it's fine. But you said, "Oh man, the last con before everything went down." Yeah, so last year we were the first people, the Ultimate Online Cosplay Champ. We were the first people to do a virtual con ever. And what Ivy is saying is C2E2 was the last major con that happened before COVID happened. I think that the week that all the shutdowns happened, there was Emerald City was supposed to happen that weekend, and AllCon was supposed to happen in Dallas, and there was a bunch of them, and all of them got shut down. So it's very interesting, but I'm really, because. Okay, let's get back to the podcast. Thank you for letting me break that and wash down whatever the hell you were eating real quick. Anyway, so
good.
something that was really special about the event that we ran last year was because this event is owned and run by the community. We're not, we don't have any sponsors or companies, or we all put our own time, money, and effort into this. So we didn't have to go through any loopholes or legal anything to make our thing happen. We just did it. So we were able to do it so quickly because
kind of caught everyone off guard.
There was just no red tape. So and it caught everyone off guard, and people just had costumes that they were willing to share. And the costumes that showed up, as you're seeing, what what we're showing behind us is the intermediate class from last year. And
Yep.
I'll roll.
Yeah, this is just and you really should point that out. Extra. This is intermediate,
Right.
guys. This is what we had to deal with. We did not expect to have as many competitors enter as we did. How many contestants was it, Chris?
In the 3-week submission period that we had open, with no warning, we got 289 submissions from 34 different countries.
It was unreal. Absolutely unreal.
We were expecting to get, I predicted 60 people would enter. That's what I was predicting.
Yeah, it was like 60. We might get like 80, but we also were completely prepared to have like 10 people enter.
Right.
And we were just going to do whatever. They were going to get a bunch of prizes.
So originally, I think we said we were going to have 10 finalists from each class. And we got so many submissions that we're like, fine, let's do 25 submissions from each class. Okay, this is where it started. So I'm going to start the master class role right now. It's kind of, you know what? I'll start it from the beginning. Let's see. How do I do that? Here we go. Okay. Here's the master class.
Turn it off, turn it back on.
Yeah, exactly. So,
oh man.
Anyway, last year's event was so meaningful and special to obviously Hoku and I and all the other judges. In fact, of all our original judging staff, there's only one person that won't be returning this year, who is Jackie Kraft, who is a huge part of our first year. And it's only because she's gone on to start doing some really big NDA projects that won't allow her to be part of it this year, which is fine. So do you want to talk about some of the changes that are going to be happening between how we did it last year and what's going to be new this year?
Gotcha. So right now is a perfect time to bring forth like probably one of the biggest changes. And that's that we're transitioning away from having a journeyman's category. So I want to explain the thinking that went into removing that category, though, because we had so many people enter in the contest last year, we ended up having a very, very, very high caliber of costumes actually end up as finalists. And so the difference between our journeyman or intermediate class versus our master class was that they hadn't won contests.
Right.
It wasn't even that they were not better. It was literally they weren't eligible.
Yeah. The skill level was identical.
It was insane.
Yeah. Well,
it was insane.
With the exception of obviously maybe our top 3, but still it was such tight competition.
Yeah, but so absolutely correct though. If it was not for the requirement we had in masterclass, which is that you had to have won a prior contest, most of the journeyman finalists, a lot of them would have actually been in masterclass. And that's because those costumes were just incredible.
Yeah.
So we're getting rid of the journeyman category, and instead
we're getting rid of just skill classification. There's no skill categories. Everyone so anyway, that's how I've been explaining it to people.
That's you're absolutely right. So we are in fact getting rid of the classification or categories based off of your skill proficiency.
So anyone
there really is no such thing,
regardless of skill now, and they won't be categorized by their skill. Hoku will talk about what they will be categorized by this next event.
So how excited were you when we were sitting here trying to come up with a category system, and then just out of nowhere, Sammy's like, out of this world?
Well, Doc, let's talk about all of them. And
it was great.
To answer your question,
I'm leading into it.
Yeah.
So out of this world, guys, that is the thing that is going to differentiate our contest in such a unique way. So what we've got is 3 categories. Okay. We've got the first category, which is needlework. Needlework needs to have appreciation. It needs to have its own category.
Absolutely.
It needs to have a competition between needlework and other needlework. We also need an armor category. So our second category is in fact armor, and that is meant for anything that is, an armor type. You have materials like plastics, you've got composites, thermoforming
Yeah.
plastics, Warbler foam, the whole 9 yards, 3D
Polymer,
printing.
resin, just
Exactly.
everything. So,
if it is armor, then you are entering armor category. Unless, and this is the third category, and this is the big, like, interesting one.
they're all interesting, but this one is just
sure.
very
But this
unique,
one,
I
this
suppose,
one
yeah.
is inherently interesting because of the name, right?
So actually,
That
talk
is-
about the evolution of like what this started as, because we were going to call it something different.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, because like
Yes,
originally
we were going to call it. Yeah, so
originally we were
going
going to do larger than life and, you know, special
Yep.
effects like, you know, TwitchCon or something like that, but we wanted to do something different that was unique to us. So
well, I think that's actually a good thing to talk about as well, and that is that one thing that I've always noticed with categories is that with sewing and with armor, you have got a very specific preconceived idea or concept of what is in fact sewing and what is armor. Okay. And then if you have another category like larger than life, for example, the problem is outside of it being big, I don't really have a very defined expectation of what that could be. You could be a gigantic sewn costume. You could be a gigantic armor costume, or you could be a gigantic, just terrifying silicone covered creature like Sig Neutron did that one year.
Yeah, like the giant brain creature thing.
Yeah, Mother Brain, I think it was, something like that. But yeah, so we wanted to kind of eliminate that as being a problem, because I view that as being a slight problem. I don't want to have categories that have no distinction unless anybody and everybody can choose to go that route. Okay. And so what we've done is created a third category that is an open category. It is a category that is open to anything that is outside of the standard expectations of what needlework and what armor would typically be. So now if you've got something that's needlework plus more, you've got something that's armor plus more, you've got something that's armor and needlework and more, you can choose to go the route of going the out of this world category.
Right.
It's not going to penalize you by not going in that category, but it's going to help you be classified as a non-standardized type. And that will be a small competition in and of itself. So we've really got 3 competitions in the preliminary stages, which is needlework against needlework, armor against armor work, out of this world against out of this world.
Yep.
And then the top 3 from each of those are going to be placed and win their categories. And then the top place, the first place from each of those 3 categories, is then bumped up for the finale. And that finale is going to be an open competition, regardless of classification. And whoever has the thing that is absolutely amazing and outrageous and just blows us away is going to win the big deal, which is going to be a trophy that's made by me and designed by Zach Fisher Illustration. Amongst a smorgasbord of other awards that are going to be attached to it as well. So
like Hoku said, you know, it's going to be a competition between best in show of needlework, armor, and whatever out of this world brings to this contest, which even we don't know what that is yet.
No, it's so exciting.
And that's what's going to go towards best in show. So I'm really very, very interested. So the way that we kind of laid out what out of this world is the way I typed it out on the website and in the rules and stuff is I put this is a category for the most ambitious, overdeveloped costumes that we might expect to see. And we predict it's going to be extremely competitive. And I've talked to a number of people who have won best in shows in needlework and or armor, and they feel like they have to compete in out of this world to challenge themselves to do something completely different or out of their comfort zone, because if they have already won one or the other, they want to see if they can compete against people that are, you know, building robots or, you know, whatever else people end up building, which is really cool.
Well, you know what stands out to me though is it's something that I think is a natural development. So if you were to go 10, 15 years back and look at the current state of events with cosplay and costume competitions, you would see a natural progression between then and now that is just an astonishing amount of development, an astonishing amount of just creativity and growth, really. The spread of knowledge through the different resources, whether it's Twitch, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's through, even like the RPF forum, for example, which is just a tremendous amount of information and resources, all of which are free, though. What it's done is it's created people that are making costumes on par with the costumes that are created in the movie industry and in the entertainment industry, And so at one point, though, what can you really do in a armor category or a needlework category that is really pushing the limits? Like I don't know how perfect you can actually get at sewing when it feels like we've really reached perfection in so many ways, and it's something that's really excited because now what people are doing is growing, as you said. When you talk to people that have won best in show at other contests, there really isn't very many costumes nowadays that are just one category. They're doing more with their
That's exactly
what
I was going to say.
Yeah,
like no one sticks to one medium. Everyone who competes in whatever category or skill level, everything is mixed media. I mean, look behind me at everything that's showing. We've got fur, foam, fabric, resin casted stuff, sculpted elements,
wigs,
3D
really,
printed, like there's, even in just needlework alone, there's all of those elements, same as armor. Armor wouldn't be armor without tabards and, fabric and capes and all that stuff.
Oh man, I sorry to point this out, but do you remember?
Yep, I remember.
Holy moly!
And I whatever. I don't want to get too deep into some of the.
I know it's so hard.
It's so hard not to.
I literally keep putting my chat box over the middle of the screen,
just
so I'm not completely just in awe. Yeah. But it puts a smile on my face, so it's a good thing.
But no, we had like all of us were blown away. In fact, all of the judges were just. They did not have a lot of fun last year judging. The event itself was really fun, but the scoring, judging, deliberations, finalist selections, choosing the actual winners, like they were pissed off. Like you guys were not happy people because it was so it was very tight all the way to the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
yeah, there was I am not lying when I say I have never had so many show-winning costumes put in front of me
the one
that I have to go
is a great. I thought this was going to be a top 3 masterclass. And believe it or not, this one was not. Like this costume is perfect. It's phenomenal.
Yep.
And there were ones that the judges decided were better than this. And the truth is, they're right. You guys were correct in what you did. And I was really happy that the community really agreed with and supported everything that the entire committee did.
Sure.
We were very fortunate to have such a positive reaction from when we announced to months after the event even happened, all the way up till now when we're announcing this year's, competition that we're going to be doing in May. I like how you just watching the video.
I know it's so tough. It's so tough. Like this Rathalos costume is just.
That's a Glavinus.
Oh, sorry.
I'm a big Monster Hunter nerd.
No, I'm so glad because now I'm not gonna get it wrong.
Yep.
But still, that's something that's unreal. So suffice to say, that is the first big change to the competition this year, which is, once again, just to recap, it's the categories. There are actual specific categories now.
People are very happy too about that. And it was a much needed change. Oh yeah, so we were talking about changes between last year and this year. So the categories is a big thing.
The starter category though.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that?
You should talk about it because you are more familiar with it.
Okay. So I got a phone call from, and this is so funny because we announced this year's competition, about 5 days ago or something like that. And we got a lot of feedback from people online, which was really helpful to help us sculpt what the rules were going to be. And people told us what they wanted, and they wanted more representation for sewing, and they wanted, a beginner's category, and they wanted more things. But we didn't want to make the show 12 hours long. So we had to think, we had to be creative, creative problem solving. And one of the things we get a lot of requests for was making a beginners category. So
Yeah.
Myself and Frostbite discussed it at length. It was about a 2-hour discussion actually, and he wanted to do a very robust and complete beginners competition, and I kind of we didn't argue. It was a very interesting conversation actually, but my argument was we've got all of these absolute world-class judges, and I don't want to take too much time away from artists in the master class that want to be judged by people like Volpin and Bill Duran and Evil Ted and some of like the leaders in the industry, so to speak, or the educators. So what we're going to do instead for our we are going to accept applications from beginners of people that have been cosplaying for 1 year or less. And I want to ask you something real quick.
Sure.
Hoku. I've heard from a lot of people, and I might want to change the rule on this, so I'm going to run this past you. Yeah. I've heard from a lot of people that started cosplaying in like late 2019, and then COVID happened, and they stopped working on stuff. And technically, that would make them ineligible to compete because it's over a year.
Sure.
So I want to change it to 1 year or less of experience, or if it's your first cosplay.
Sure.
Is that fair? Because some people started theirs and didn't finish.
Yeah, there's two things that come to mind. Is I think what we should do is we might have to do that a little bit by a case by case basis, because there's going to be some costumes that are just like, bro, there's no way, right? And then there's going to be some
and vet those and all
a little bit. Yeah, I think if there's anything that's too much like, oh, come on, right? Then we might be in a position where we go, because what I would love to see personally is a celebration of all of our up and comers, all of our very much newcomers still. This isn't necessarily about the perfect costume. This is about the progress that you have made in just developing through one costume build. That is something that I think is amazing and incredible to experience. But if you show up and you submit something to us and you are completely finished from top to bottom, I mean, at that point, you're not really a beginner. You should be competing.
Right.
So what I would actually say is we should reserve the right to move people from the beginners category to the competition.
Well, and the thing that, all of those people are aware of is that they'd be competing against people that are much more skilled than them. So,
right.
But the other fact of the matter is that every person that submits is going to get screen time during this show, whether they're a finalist or not. Like,
we will screw it. Let's just let them. It's just a celebration. Then let anybody in that situation do it, because you know what? I don't think anybody's going to abuse that.
Yeah.
If anything, we're just all going to go, that's a cool costume. And that makes me happy. Yeah. So whatever, we're good.
So, but yeah, like, again, like, I don't want to see someone like this cosplayer behind us show up as a beginner, because it's very clear that she's not, so we'll have to use our best discretion. But anyway, the point is we are going to have a beginners showcase is what we're calling it. So the show will start with us doing judges introduction. Are you looking at the Gundam right now?
Oh, no. I'm actually just excited about what you're saying. Now I'm looking at the Gundam now that you pointed it out.
So we'll start the show and do our introductions, which is going to be a lot of fun, of which there's, myself and 16 other judges or brands of judges. And then we're going to go right into our beginner showcase awards, which we're not going to show a bunch of finalists. We're just going to show the judges' top 3 favorite and first, second, and third place winners from beginners. And then immediately afterwards, we're going to go into our full competition, which we're going to start with needlework and go through all the finalists and then do our awards for that. So that's another change, is the introduction of the beginners showcase, and we're still not completely certain of how we want to structure the rules, to be honest, and we want to be as inclusive but fair as we can. And it's more challenging than I thought it would be, because I've gotten a lot of feedback on that.
Well, I'm sure that whatever it is that we come up with and through interacting with the community, really. Because that's the thing about it, is it's not really just us making this whole thing at this point. We've gotten so much community feedback, and we've gotten so much just insight into certain things that all make the contest better.
Right.
And so that's something that has been really exciting, as well as the fact that last year's progression to this year really, really was formed by feedback. And that's something that is going to be necessary into the future. Because one thing I've also seen that occurs in contests is the moment you have a contest at a convention, even if it turns out great, it becomes almost a constant thing that only exists in that same format. And we want to be flexible with that. We want to be able to evolve over time as it's necessary. You know, the fact is, there might be some new category that comes out that becomes an absolute distinct category of itself that needs to be promoted into its own thing. And, you know, the fact is, we are in a position to accommodate the growth of the community as well. And so that's going to be what really keeps things fresh every year. Oh man, did I just give away that we want to do this next year? Kind of, maybe.
I'm happy. I'm happy to announce that we absolutely intend on doing this every year, even after life returns to normal and there's in-person cons. We think there will always be a demand for a community-run virtual international competition run by the community. For the community. And I think that we decided we're going to do one every spring, because that's like the kind of the dead season for cons is right between like March and May type of thing.
I want to point out really quick, just, I know we're not really trying to focus, but just to give you guys a perspective, this here is our winner from last year.
Right. This was
he
our
won
best
the
in show.
whole competition. This is Samui-san with it was what, Final Fantasy 14, I believe.
Correct. I couldn't even pronounce the character. It was like Begazelgabais or something. I'm not even gonna try. He just competed against Samir in some other virtual thing, and he won another best in show.
Oh my goodness!
Another contest like yesterday or the day before, or something like that.
Someday when we have a chance, we need to either fly him out here or we just need to go meet him.
Right.
Because I just want to see these things in person.
Yeah. So this guy is from Brazil, and something we should announce is that our best in show that we just showed, Samui-san, we invited him to be one of our honorary judges this year for two reasons. First, we didn't want to let him compete again because he would have just shattered the competition. And second, he deserved to be on camera, and he deserved to choose his own award and judge's choice. Right. So he is thrilled to be part of our lineup this year, and he absolutely earned it. It's funny too, because behind me right now is our second place masterclass from last year, which was the crafting dodo from where was she from? Poland, I believe.
I don't remember. Was it Poland?
Maybe it was in Poland or Denmark. It's been so long, you guys. I can't even remember.
See, this is what's so difficult, because like I just want to point out that she did all of this embroidery by hand.
Right, and she overlocked all of her her seams, and this artist is from Portugal, and she's been messaging.
We're getting into it. We're going down a slippery slope.
Okay. Anyway, so let's talk about some other changes. So
you take one.
All right, so I just introduced the beginners showcase.
Oh, sure.
But
okay, so
do you want to talk about how the Judges' Choice Awards will be handled this year?
As far as the schedule is concerned, or as far as
sure, whichever element. There's only like 2 or 3 elements of how Judges' Choice Awards are going to be managed this year, and I mean, I wrote the script for it, so if you need me to, I'll
I'm gonna let you take it over just so I don't deviate too much.
Okay, so this year our Judges' Choice Awards are going to work very similar to last year, except the fact that there is a lot more judges. So for our Judges' Choices this year, as we mentioned earlier, all judges are equal this year, which is different from last year. All 16 judges will be voting on all costumes, deliberating from prejudging, finalists, winners, and best in show. So in addition to that, they will also be, I think this is our last one, so I'm going to get ready to switch the video.
Okay, cool.
But let's put this video on. This was our non-finalist showcase right here. Anyway, so
and that's something I also like that we did is we actually highlighted people even if they didn't make it into the finalists.
And like so some of these costumes that you're seeing behind us like didn't get in as finalists in either category, which was very surprising, and that's how challenging this contest really was.
It's what makes it amazing, though.
It really does.
You think about it, we're not in a situation where it's like, hey, here's the top 3 people from a pool of 20. It's like, hey, here's the top 3 people of a pool of 300.
Right. Yeah. So this was a last minute decision I made to just include everyone, and I spent like half a day rendering a video of every person that wasn't selected. Okay, so anyway, going into Judges' Choice Awards, what we did last year was every judge, including the honorary judges, selected just their favorite cosplayer that was not selected for a top 3 prize, right? And that Judges' Choice recipient got a medallion with the judge's name on the award itself. So it was actually, I have one right here. These lovely purple medallions with
mine's special.
Oh, yours is different, yeah. With a lanyard that had the judge's name heat pressed onto it, and then each of the judges got to make a handmade gift or prop or prize to give to their recipient. And in fact,
is waiting to be given.
Right. Like,
to their recipient.
For example, Hoku, your recipient is in chat right now. Perler Tricks, who did
Perler Tricks,
the post-apocalyptic Woody.
Yep.
Oh, was that Cobalt Cosplay? No, that was someone else.
Oh my gosh.
The dancing cat.
I still think we should consider adding a dancing cat.
Category
or a dancing category.
We might have. Okay, so as we're talking,
can we talk about that?
As we're talking about Judges' Choice stuff now. So
we should get a choreographer in there to give their best. That was the
format for last year. So this year we've got so many judges, and we have some kind of specialists among our judging committee this year. So for example, Zach Fisher is one of our judges, and he's not necessarily a cosplayer, but he is does Sammy have something to say?
Do you have something to say?
Oh, I was saying for dancing, I know D Pitty is a good dancer.
I know D Pitty.
And we know D Pitty. So.
He might give a dancing, Dancing Deadpool. Have you ever seen the cosplayer?
I was in one of his videos from.
So was I. He pulled my eyeball out.
Him and I, we did the worm together when I was in my Zenogre armor, and I didn't know who he was. And a bunch of people started texting me like, "Dude, you were in one of fucking P Diddy's videos," and I was like, "What does that mean?" And they sent me the link, and I was like, "That was that crazy." Anyway, it was really funny.
Yeah. Well, maybe not this year, but maybe next year we'll get an honorary judge to.
So wait, you know that
dancing.
You know that guy?
Oh yeah, I know him super well.
Oh wow. Okay,
I
was
super well.
One of his videos. That's so fun, and he's like really well known too. But...
Yeah. There's a video that he did with me at Fanime in San Jose one year when I was dressed up as my Cable costume, the Josh Brolin one.
Right.
And he's like, hey, Chad, can I pull your eye out on camera? And I was like, yeah, of course. And so he made his video, and it's got a clip of him walking up to me, and I'm sitting there smiling. He just reaches up and plucks my fake eye out, and everyone lost it. It went stupid viral.
Right.
It actually just went viral on TikTok the other day too.
Wow.
Everyone's like, hey, that's props. So I made a TikTok, and we got a bunch of followers, and I've never made a TikTok.
That's funny. Okay. So
sorry, segue.
No, it's fine. Like, That's one of my favorite parts of the contest that we ran is we like ended up having all these spin-off stories and like because it's just organic and completely unscripted and
Right.
anything can happen and whatever. So anyway, going back to what's new about judges' choice stuff is some of the judges may have a specific award they're giving, and I don't know if Zach has agreed to this or not yet, but
I don't know what he's
as a character
on.
designer and artist, we were hoping that he might select his favorite original cosplay. So
Right.
Zach Fisher would give away an award in honor of his favorite original concept design and
something that
Goldar.
something that the judge is kind of a specialist in.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, for example, last year the Egg Sisters, they gave away a finished casting of their their necromancer like helmet. What is it?
No, they made the skull with the crown.
I know, but that skull was from the costume that I judged the year before.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so then they made it had like the wicked crown and all that stuff. Yeah, it was a Diablo 3 3 costume.
Yeah. So as the Egg Sisters are creature costume artists and very dark and realistic, hyper realistic looking creatures.
It's amazing.
I
love their costumes.
I talked to the Egg Sisters today. They were actually working on a project, and I got them on speakerphone, and they agreed to do. I believe their favorite creature costume award will go to their favorite from the Egg Sisters, which is so fitting. So for someone who admires the Egg Sisters and got into making creature costumes and looks up to and admires them, to get that award is really meaningful. Mine, I think I decided what it's going to be, and I don't mind announcing it. I'm going to give my judge's choice, or my Master of Ceremonies award, or whatever you want to call it, to literally the funniest submission that we get, like the one that makes me laugh out loud the hardest. I'm going to give my medallion, and I'm gonna make a gift specifically for, because I want to fucking laugh. And sorry, I just said bad words on editing, but I want to do that, because if I had done that last year, it would have gone to do you want to take a bite real quick?
No, I was just okay. I was messing with you,
but yeah, like if I would have done that last year, it would have gone to Dancing Cat. Period. Or maybe the Goldar one, because Goldar's video is so funny.
It's just smashing his way through everything.
So
putties and all.
Yeah. So I think but anyway, everything is to be determined, but the point is there's going to be 17 Judges' Choice Awards given out. So there's going to be 10 total, actual awards given for the actual competitors doing what they do, and then there's going to be wait, I thought it was more than that. I thought we had then we have 3 of the beginners class, so there's 10 plus 3 is 13, and then 17 more awards, giving us 30 total awards, period. Which is pretty cool. So we get to, of all the people that enter, we're going to be able to select 30 people. Well, it's actually 29, because someone's going to win Best in Category and Best in Show. So it's 29 people will win some pretty high status awards. And then the only other thing, so after the Judges' Choice Awards, then we're going to go into our Best in Show showdown, or whatever we want, whatever we end up calling it. And that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, there's there's
if anything,
really
what we would
about.
what we would actually consider that it would be a 4th category, and that is the finales category.
I suppose it would be the 5th if we go beginners, and then the 3, and then we'll call it the Masters competition, or whatever you want to call it, or
finals. It really is. It's the finals.
Yeah.
So it's at that point, you've got, once again, just your first place winners from the 3 respective categories who are entered in a showdown. And one other thing that I think is really exciting is something that is unique to this contest as well, is the fact that pretty much whenever we're involved with judging contests in person, there is a preview, so to speak, or a mock-up run through of showing the judges what your costume looks like. Final deliberations take place right up until the point. So at any point in a contest, for the most part, like a judge can go, I've changed my mind,
Right.
like boom, right? But what you guys are seeing is exactly what we judge based off of. We see the exact same video footage, we see the exact same pictures, we see everything identically to what you guys see. And that's unique. You know what I mean? There's going to be a far better kind of harmony between the judges and what the audience is seeing, because we're not seeing it any closer than you guys are. So that's just something I really want to point out that's so fun about this costume contest. And I think it's why probably last year the audience felt so good about the winners as well, is because they saw what we saw. They saw the same things that led us to choose those people as the winners.
That is true. The only exception is that people did send in quite a bit of work in progress pictures.
Sure.
But that doesn't necessarily, and you know, I wasn't a judge, I was the host, and in some cases it has a significant effect on the judging and scoring process to see, you know, because difficulty in technique was like a quarter of what you guys were judging on.
Sure.
But realistically, what you guys are looking for is the final result, how it turned out, the finish, and was the costume complete when they submitted it. And this year, one of the things we're adding to our scoring sheet, in addition to what we did last year, is we're going to add a 5th category of, does this costume look complete?
Oh, sure.
Because one of the things I've learned from Hoku over the years, because he beat me the first time I ever competed in a contest, by the way.
I beat everybody, though.
He won Best in Show that year.
I still don't know how that happened.
And
but
he's
hey.
gone on to judge many costume contests since. And one of the things he's always said, I think I was competing again a few years later, and I said, you know, what's something important I should look out for? And you said, make sure your costume is finished. That's what you said to me.
Oh, yeah.
Because you said, I can't tell you how many competitions I've judged where it wasn't done.
Sure.
And it was obvious. So we're going to be looking for that. Or I'm sorry, the judges will be looking for that.
Yeah.
I will.
Well, in a way, you yourself are going to be looking for that because you have your own award.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
But if I'm looking for the
don't cut yourself short.
The funniest submission, then I don't really give a shit how complete their
sure.
Well,
sure,
maybe I will.
But I think if somebody comes in with something funny and it's complete, it's a heck of a lot better than something that's funny and incomplete. Then you're getting the whole picture, you know.
If it's funny and really good, that would be
like imagine
even
that
better.
cat's. Imagine the cat's costume that we saw last year. That was hilarious, really.
Right.
But imagine he was missing his lower half. He was just wearing like jeans. Actually, that might be even funnier, right? But so maybe just ignore
I really
everything
hope,
I've said.
Like for even like whether people
I hope
get
he
in,
actually, guy that entered from Cats last year, re-enter this year, do the same dance, but wear pants this time and a different cat, and you might actually win his costume.
I need to look
award.
up what that cosplayer's name was, so we can invite them to absolutely resubmit. Or maybe we'll just show last year's cat dancing video anyway. And we'll
Maybe
just have
we
it
should.
like up in the corner during the entire.
Well, we could totally have at the start like highlights of last year, and it 4 frames dancing, Samui-san, San, and then like a couple of other
Goldar,
me and Sammy.
of course. Yeah, we gotta show Goldar.
The whole time, like me and Samuel just be little like Mystery Science Theater 2000,
Right.
Eating ice cream. I don't know.
I think
We're allowed to do that again this year, right?
Oh yeah, we can all eat during the contest.
It got me through the 4 hours.
Right, so
it really did.
What happened last year was I had actually scripted out the whole show, and I had it down to a science, minute by minute. And it was a kind of a casual, non-scripted show, but we had an actual like timeline. And according to my calculations, which I didn't graduate college, by the way, but I made calculations based on math, based on whatever. And the show should have been 2 hours and 20 minutes, give or take 5 minutes.
Right.
And the show was actually 4 hours and 35 minutes. So we went over by 2 hours and 10 minutes or so.
Yep.
So the show was more than twice as long as intended, roughly. But this year, I think I conservatively did another series of calculations. And
Do
this
you
year,
want to
the show
start
should
a
be
wager?
2
Do you
hours
wanna
and
have a
40
wager?
minutes.
Can
But-
we have a wager?
You want to do an over-under? Like,
Well, let's do an over/under, and the winner will be the one throwing the punch in another handshake fist fight.
okay. You know
I
what?
get the opening,
If
or
we did
the
an
winner gets the
over-under,
opening punch.
it should be like a 3-hour over-under bet type of thing.
Okay. I think it's
going
gonna be over. Absolutely.
I see. I wouldn't
So-
vote
so
against
let's-
you.
Let's set a time that's acceptable. You think
Okay.
it'll go over 4 hours?
3.5 hours then. 3.5 hours.
I think it's going over 4 hours again. Absolutely.
But you want to? Okay.
And now we can't sandbag. Let's promise now we
we're
won't
also
sandbag.
we're also starting the show 2 hours earlier this year.
Sure.
To accommodate.
But we're talking total length, right?
I'm sorry.
We're talking total
Oh
length
yeah, we're
for
talking
this,
total
this
time.
wager.
But
Okay.
I just mean we're starting the actual event 2 hours earlier because there was Europeans that were up until 5 in the morning. And 2 hours earlier might help. So we're doing that. Plus we won't be so tired and hungry, hopefully. I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, so so we just talked about the, best in show ceremony or whatever we might come up with a better name for it, like Clash of the, Titans or something like that.
Well, we've got Out of This World. What if we have Out of This Galaxy?
You want to just do a whole space themed cosplay contest?
I like
Where
space
it's like
personally.
cosmic sewing and like nebula
would actually be-
armor and
that would be kind of pushing it, I think.
I think it would be kind of silly, but who cares, right? Anyway,
That's true.
so yeah, so we'll have our, we'll announce our best in show,
Mhm.
and then whatever our closing ceremonies are, which we don't really have anything planned, but it's probably just going to be like, okay, we're all tired. Thanks for watching, and then
Peace.
oh, and then last year we ended on Wolfgar and all of his guys dancing, and then we had a credit
Did you ask
roll.
them to do it again?
Yeah, we had a credit roll. I think I was interviewed by
Yeah.
him last week, and I asked him if he'd do it again. He said yeah. So
Yeah.
we had a whole credit roll of all the judges, the sponsors, the final. It was awesome, and then it ended with a really heartfelt letter that I had written for the viewers to a fade.
We
out,
also
which was
made
good.
people cry tremendously.
So-
We're gonna have intermission videos again.
That was something I wanted to ask you about. So last year we had 2 intermissions plus a surprise drop the brush challenge or whatever you want to call it
Right.
from the intermediate finalists. But we had 2 intermissions, and it was people from around the world that talked about what cosplay meant to them. And we had a lot of people, and Hoku and Sammy edited those videos together. None of the judges saw them before the show. I don't even know if you watched them, Hoku.
No, I had seen them because
Okay,
I
but-
helped with the audio.
Yeah, but they were fun, interesting. People were crying, people were laughing, like they were very emotionally charged. And this year we have 3 intermission slots planned for this year, and we'll probably do something similar. We didn't talk about what the themes of those intermissions are going to be. So, do you want to do something similar, or do you want to do something different?
I think anytime you have a chance to do something celebratory, we should, especially if it's heartfelt, and that's what the message last year was so good about. So I think it'll be something similar in fashion, but instead, we'll change it up just a little bit with a new question or new couple of questions, and it's just another opportunity to give people insight into the feelings that are driving others that are part of this community. It's something that can also help others that are trying to figure out what this community means to them and put a name to that face. Like, and what's so fun about watching that video, even for me, is like, I knew I had an answer for all those. I answered, some of those questions. And in hearing what others had to say, I also realized I agreed with them, and that I also now viewed it the same way as well. You know, there's no limit to for what it's worth. Just so you guys know, and you can check it out on my YouTube if you want to watch the intermission videos. But it's something that is always unique. The question, what is cosplay to you? It's ever changing, but it's really not necessarily just ever changing, but it's ever growing. There's always more things to add on top of that. And that's what's so good about, you know, the cosplay community, and specifically about what cosplay means to me. You know, keep in mind, once again, it's unique to everybody.
Right.
But that's what I think is going to happen again this year is we'll make 1 or 2 videos with that agenda or that initiative, I guess you would say, and then something that also brings, you know, awareness to something else, whether it's a person or people, or maybe people we've lost. I know there's been some casualties over the last year with the pandemic. So, amongst other things, even, you know, it doesn't even have to be related to the pandemic. It can just be those who we miss, man. Because God, I wish they could see what we're doing here.
We
right?
could actually grieve just the loss of conventions over the last year. And
yes, rip BlizzCon, man. Like there's so many things that we are going to have back, though, you know, in the hopefully near future.
We all have a lot to look
forward to.
For
but
sure.
Between then and now, we've got this contest to put on to remind you guys everything that is still here that we have to love, because it's amazing.
You know, it'd be kind of fun. I was going through a bunch of photos looking for graphics or assets for graphics that I was making for announcements over the last few days, and I was going through pictures from LA Comic Con and BlizzCon and Dragon Con and TwitchCon, all these different amazing gatherings. And I was talking to Bad Mood Leather earlier, and we were talking about all the events that we did last year, and we were so spoiled. Like, we got to do everything, and we had a lot of fun. And, you know, I don't want to say we took it for granted, but when it was gone, it just, like, we realized how much we really lost out, especially people that make a living off of conventions, like vendors, and, like, that's a whole different story, which is awful.
even me, I was affected. I was affected by not having conventions, because I, throughout the year, work at conventions occasionally. It's also where a lot of my props are going to, right? So suffice to say, you know, another really cool option, though, I mean, it's a podcast, we can talk about whatever we want, right? One thing that I think could also be fun is a video that just shows the growth of cosplayers. You know, get us a picture of you where you started, and get us a picture of you where you are now, you know, and let's see just the evolution that has taken place and celebrate that. Like, if you guys were to see Sammy's first costume compared to what she makes nowadays, you would be astounded. You know,
Why are you throwing me under the bus?
Don't make her talk.
Sammy's yelling at me.
You just turned bright red. Okay, I just thought of something while you were talking about.
Sure.
Something I think would be fun for maybe one of our intermissions is reach out to a lot of our well-known cosplayer friends, you know, a lot of which are on our judging panel,
and get all their dirty laundry.
No,
like costume-wise.
No, ask them to send us a picture of their first cosplay.
Oh, that's what I mean. I mean, it's like the first embarrassing costume that you made,
right?
You know, or even just your most embarrassing costume, if it's funny, obviously.
Sure, yeah. But I think that would be kind of fun to see, like, you know, Volpin's
first. There's Perler Tricks.
Yeah, Volpin's first prop, or Bill Duran's first cosplay. Like, I'd be willing to show mine. Which
you could see Sammy as Hitsugaya, where literally the way she did her wig was like, she laid with her head falling off of the side of the bed wearing the wig, and her friend just put like a gallon of hairspray in it. It's incredible.
It probably worked too, but
why are you throwing me under the bus? It's bad.
Love you.
But it was every first cosplay is, you know, for lack of a better word,
it was
bad,
not good.
you know. But that's where we all started that way, you know.
It's what's so good about it, though, too.
Even everyone's, you know, favorite influencer, like Kamui. Like, Kamui shares her stuff, like, back from 2008 when she went to her first BlizzCon, and she just basically painted her body purple and had elf ears. And, you know, she looked adorable, and now she's Kamui cosplay, you know? And
I know, that happened.
I think it would be really kind of eye-opening for both beginners and expert level cosplayers to see where everyone started.
Yeah.
And we could invite, really everyone to do that.
I like that idea.
That could be a great intermission video. And we want to make our intermission videos like probably no longer than 6 minutes or so. Just enough time for like all the judges to go to the
last year they
bathroom.
were like 4.5 minutes, and then I think the other one was like 5 minutes 12 seconds.
I think it was like 7 and
Was it
5.5. But then there was the drop the brush one, but we didn't. That was an intermission. We all sat and watched that.
Yeah.
So
that was a surprise.
Yeah, that was a surprise that I had for you from them, and then you guys had a surprise for me from all the judges, which was the goddamn trophy that made me start crying in front of the world.
We're gonna have a swear jar for you in the middle. Just
am I swearing?
You said the D word.
Oh, darn it. Well,
nab it.
When we're doing that, like, I apologize for all the children watching. But whatever.
It's
so
okay.
I will be much more professional during the show. Plus, for ultimately no reason, I was talking to Tiffany Gordon today or yesterday. I don't remember because I talked to a lot of people, but she lives only a short 6-hour drive from me here because in Texas everything is 6 hours away. But she offered to come to my house and support me and help me out with whatever I need during the show, which is funny because she's one of our honorary judges. We actually talked about, like, it would be funny if she showed up on camera while we were showing her actual video, which would be hilarious.
She should show up in Tock cosplay.
So like a beard and She's got long hair.
And you'll do a quick change during the intermission, and she'll just be sitting there.
That
and
would
we'll
be
see how long
really
it takes
funny.
people to realize.
So the people watching this video will be in on the joke, but
just don't tell anybody if you're in here.
Right. So, but
Keep it between us.
We'll probably have a lot of surprises.
Sure.
But something I'm really interested to see. Just going into this year, we have a lot of new on-camera judges, and some of them I don't know quite as well as I knew last year. So I talked to Cutie Pie Sensei for about 2 hours this morning. I talked to Papa Bear Cosplay for about 40 minutes last night. You and I had a voice call or a video call with Pros and Cons Cosplay just a couple of nights ago.
Super cool.
And all of these conversations were so amazing.
Funny.
And
Funny.
it was so fun to tell these folks, like, hey, this isn't one of those, like, you get hired, you score, you show up on camera, you get your paycheck, and you leave. Like, this is like, you're joining our family. You're joining our community. And this is so much more than just a job or a guest appearance type of thing. And we really hope that everyone feels that way, including the finalists and the...
Well, you know what, though? There's something that, and you get credit for this, really. But one thing that I've struggled with in the past, and this isn't always the case, but when I show up to a competition and there's somebody they're judging that I haven't met, when I haven't met them, there's not that necessarily that chemistry, for example, and there's not nearly as much of a pleasant judging opportunity. Not always the case, but sometimes, it's difficult, especially with international contests, and that's just because of the language barrier.
Right.
But by having the announcement of who the judges are so ahead of time, my hope is that any of the judges that are newer to the show and don't necessarily know any of us or some of us, there's an opportunity there and enough time to get to know one another, at least on a casual level. And then it's going to help actually develop our ability as judges to kind of work together as a team versus necessarily just like butting heads.
Well, in addition to that, that's part of the reason we started this podcast, is because this is our first podcast of the Ultimate Cosplay Podcast, I think we called it. I will change the overlay to reflect that when we're ready. But anyway, in our next podcast, we'll have a special guest. So it'll be Hoku and I every week, doing this every Saturday, more or less, for... What was it? The next 16 weeks or something like that?
16 weeks to start with.
Give or take a week, but
available when we need it later.
PewDiePie Sensei is going to be on
Right.
this podcast, and
Right.
I've known of her work for a while, but I got to meet her, on the phone today, and we're actually going to get to learn about her as an artist, what she does, and her as a person, and what
Yep.
her life looks like, and why she does what she does. And I'm really, interested and excited about that, because I get to meet someone new that's on our panel this year, and that's
Yep.
that's very exciting for all of us and for the community to see that.
Yep.
So I think that's gonna be. In addition to that, we're gonna have some of the competitors from last year. I think we have Kawaii Mayhem, who won first place intermediate. It's going to be on the show, and then we just have to schedule out who's going to be on when and where and whatever.
In what order? Yeah.
And then we're gonna.
I know it's super exciting, because not only do you guys get a chance to meet, Tock and I, but you also get a chance to get an insight into the different judges a part of it,
Right.
and maybe pick apart their psyche a little, and look forward to having the opportunity to take part and be judged by some of these incredible crafters. Like Harrison, for example.
Right.
Man, I am so glad I stopped competing before I got judged by Harrison, because man,
I got
that would
judged
have
by him.
intimidated me
Yeah,
so much.
he judged me a couple of years ago, and
Sure.
Yep.
And luckily enough, I've become friends with him. But man, that was somebody who I admired for a long time, even before I started building costumes for myself. Because I started as a prop maker. I started making these pieces from video games and from stories and books and whatnot that I loved, that I wanted to be a part of my own existence and my own world, so
Right.
to speak. And then the evolution, of course, led me to cosplay with like Lionheart and all that. So, but man,
Well, we were just talking about how interesting it'll be to see the dynamic of some of the new on-camera judges and the chemistry between all of us, and also the fact that there's not going to be just 5 judges assigning point values to finalists, but 16 judges, which really adds a lot of value to each competitor, that they're being judged fairly among a extremely wide scope of talented, artists.
Yep.
So that's very exciting. But yeah, I'm really interested to see how it's going to be when there's a lineup of, you and Frostbite and Cutie Pie Sensei and Vulpin and Bill Duran, and like it's going to be a wild experience.
This area down here, we are going to be significantly squished.
No, last year we had 10 people. This year we have 10 people.
Well, yeah, I mean, compared to right now, you and I.
Oh yeah, like last year we were all like little tiny people, but the focus was on the
Mystery
stage.
Science Theater.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, we'll have more cameras. So when we do the Brady Bunch style thing, instead of 6 cameras, there's going to be like 8 or 9. So that'll be interesting, and we'll actually be able to do a recreation of the Brady Bunch.
Oh man!
During the contest, that'll be really funny.
Oh man!
But yeah, that's pretty much the lineup for what we get to look forward to.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone on Earth doesn't get sick of Hoku and I before the actual show, but we really hope to bring, a lot of the new judges, into our world and share, their experience with all of you, and you guys get to meet them, especially for those of you that are planning on competing.
Right.
So what else do we have anything else to discuss in terms of what people should look forward to or expect, or like do we anticipate that the competition is going to be at a higher level than last year?
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's the question, isn't it? What see, it's unfathomable to me. You know what I mean? To think that this year is going to be better than last year. And that's just because last year pushed things so astronomically out of my expectations. Now it's just like, I'm not going into it with any expectations outside of to just love what I'm seeing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't want to say that this year is going to be any better than last year, because I think that it's just going to be this year. Last year was amazing. This year's going to be amazing. And as long as it stays that way, we'll keep doing this,
Right. Yeah.
So no, I'm not going to say that I think this year's going to be better. I think it's going to be as good.
I'm
you
not
know,
saying
and that's
better or worse. I don't
awesome.
want to say better or worse. That's not where I'm going. I'm just saying, do we
Okay.
think that the competition is going to be more fierce, more competitive? You know, higher levels
Oh,
of costumes.
well, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because we're giving people more time. You know what I mean?
That is true.
It means that any of the costumes that we struggled with last year, trying to determine if they should be a finalist or not, those costumes, if they had the additional time ahead of time that we're giving them this year,
right.
they would have been done. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just because of the notice.
And there
It's
was
just
still some people that started and finished a costume
in the time of
in the
announcing.
time frame we gave them,
Yeah,
which was very limited.
It was insane.
And some of those people were still finalists too,
Yep.
which is mind blowing. But
Yep. There's that one Jester costume. There's
yeah,
return
Plexi,
of
Plexi
the
with
Duran.
that Jester costume. She did
Yeah.
that in like
A week,
9
2
days or
weeks?
something like that,
Yeah.
and she made it in as a finalist in Masterclass. And
She sure did. And that's something I think is, I think that I want to touch on that really quick. And this is because I don't want, no, this is just some ideology of mine. I want people to realize that the craftsmanship quality between somebody who is a professional and somebody who is just getting started, one of the major things that really differentiates a person from being, let's say, an amateur to a master is that the master has failed more. They have failed and learned from those mistakes. And so they've learned how to do things faster. But the capacity for somebody just getting started in cosplay, if they take enough time, can be just as good as any master can make a costume as well. It's the time, it's the efficacy, so to speak. And so that's what's so exciting for me whenever you've got a contest like what we're doing with ours, where we're giving people as much time as we possibly can. That's because it enables somebody to really express their capabilities and not be constrained just by the time that they have to build it, you know?
Yep.
That's something that's a lot of contests, when there's such short notice, it creates a difficulty with that. It's like you have to be prepared with a pre-built finished costume.
Right.
I don't want that. I want to give people enough time to build a new costume if they don't have one.
Right.
Because now think about so to answer your question, actually, there's my answer. I think it's going to be absolutely better because people have enough time now to start a costume and finish and build it for this contest.
Yeah.
Knowing full well what the quality was last year. They have something to aim
Of
at.
comments of people that didn't know about this, about what we did last year, that have learned about it from our announcement this year, because it's spread very quickly this year. Last year we announced it, and it spread through certain communities, but it had never happened. Like you don't know, you don't know what to expect. But since we had an otherwise successful first year at attempting to run something, it spread very quickly this year, and it got a lot of attention very quickly. And I think I shared this with you, but more people have...
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to. I'm looking at you, and I can just see this anyway.
That guy, by the way, Bithlord, the guy with as Sir Robin, that's my IP attorney. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know
He's
that.
the guy that's federally registering my TockCustom brand.
Oh my goodness, that's so amazing.
And he was a finalist with me at TwitchCon.
Sure.
And that's anyway. But Bithlord is amazing. So anyway, so this competition in the, I think, 5 or 6 days since we announced it, has already gotten more exposure than the amount of people that actually watched the event last year.
Yeah.
So last year we had about 1,200 people watch it live between Twitch and YouTube combined altogether.
Mm-hmm.
And we already have, I think, twice as much reach on every social media platform. Cat dancer.
He's back.
Within
just imagine him with jeans.
A few days.
And being Mr. Mistopheles.
Oh, let's take a moment to welcome the raid from Live Action Pixel here.
Live Action Pixel, thank you so much for the raid and welcome. We are discussing this year's just recently announced Ultimate Online Cosplay Championship for 2021.
Yep.
And welcome and thank you again. We always appreciate it.
Yeah.
So getting back to the topic at hand, though, I wonder if you know what I'm wondering, if we're going to get more larger than life costumes this year, because we had a couple last year, but I think that the difficulty of making them and just, having them ready to compete in,
Right.
with more time this year, I'm hoping we do. I obviously I have a soft spot in my heart for the costumes
Of
that
course
are
you do.
they're
Yeah.
up there,
Something that, keep this in mind from last year. Last year we launched our competition, and because we gave, it was such a short window of announcement to, cutoff,
Right.
is we told people any costume you've ever made ever, as long as it hasn't won an award, is eligible. And this year we've limited it to 2 years from the day we announced it. So people will essentially have had 2.5 years. So
Yeah.
that's still a pretty big window, but last year people didn't really get a chance to start and finish something. But if they had something they made a
Right.
few years ago, they could enter it. Now it's limited, to the last couple of years. But like you said, we gave people 5 months to finish a pre-existing project or start and finish something brand new. So I think with what people saw last year,
Right.
they know what they're going to be competing against. And right now, once again, we're showing the people that did not make it as finalists in some of these costumes
Are insane.
are phenomenal.
Yeah.
They absolutely are competitive, and it's funny because okay, so
It's an understatement, really.
I've competed before, and
Yeah.
when you're competing in a contest, there's the anxiety of when a competition is announced. Anxiety starts immediately, right? Because you're immediately thinking, what am I going to build? How am I going to build it? Then there's the process of building it, and then submitting it, and then waiting to find out if you're a finalist. And then if you make it, then
Sure.
the anxiety goes up even more.
Yeah.
And then there's the actual event where you have to sit there and look at what you're competing against. And,
Yeah.
it's a very stressful series of,
You know what?
and it goes on for months.
You know what, though? In a way, though, I've said this for those of you that I don't know personally. I've said this to a lot of my friends, and I'm so glad that I am done competing. I don't want to compete anymore. I love the position that I have
Yep.
reached as far as being able to appreciate the competition and be able to see not only the quality costume, but the spectacle involved with it as well. But I kind of set myself up for failure, really, because while I have determined to not compete again, if you have noticed, anytime I've been a part of a big contest, so for example, both years I judged TwitchCon.
I know exactly what you're going to say right
The
now.
moment I went into accepted judging, I said to myself, I love this costume contest, and I'm going to build a costume that would win this contest,
Right.
even though I'm the judge. And so the first year I judged, I built Uther. And the second year I judged at TwitchCon, I built the Lich King, which was just a monster of a costume,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so it's like I'm in this weird position right now because there's a piece of me that wants to, for this year's Ultimate Online Cosplay Championship, build a costume that I think would win it.
That you're going to
How
wear.
dangerous.
That you're
And then
gonna
I would
while
wear it.
sitting on a
I would
couch.
wear it while judging. Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'm not promising, but there's a piece of me that is like sitting there going, I could totally do it.
So,
and it scares
and
me.
it's funny because, and I'm not going to say that, it would be very, inappropriate for anyone to say whether your costumes that you made for judging were better, whatever.
Oh, sure.
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 But yes, I absolutely noticed that you did that. And I think you even told me anyway, because we know each other, but
well, I feel like I owe it to the
that's
people
true.
that are competing as well.
A lot of judges do, like last year at the live TwitchCon, like Volpin made something.
Right.
Casey
Right.
Renee did her Morticia Adams, and she did not break character throughout the entire process.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't smile, and she had like roses she was cutting the tips off of, and it was really
That's
fun.
the spectacle, though. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's her name? Pocket cosplayed as Moxie. So it was really fun to see, and you've been, part of doing that. I know Modulus Props and Bill Duran and a lot of people have cosplayed during things, but I was talking about the level of anxiety for competitors, and judges have the same thing.
Right.
As soon as submissions close, then it's like, okay, now we have to go through all our submissions.
Yep.
And start making some really difficult choices.
Yep.
And
And keep in mind, those choices get questioned by everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone. It's like, why was this? Why was that? Why was this? That was actually what was so refreshing about last year, is the fact that it seemed like the overall response to the winners were there was just enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
So,
and forgive me to interrupt you, but something that was really amazing about our format of what we did last year is typically in-person competitions, you have an MC or a host that, has cards, and they read the next person that's going to come out and say who the person's name is and what they made, and they might have a couple of notes on, this is made out of EVA foam and blah, 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 and whatever, and they do their little, twirl and then walk away, and the judges just sit behind a table and they don't say anything because that's not the way that most in-person cons are set up.
Right.
But what we got to do is watch these videos, and of course we had already prejudged them, but we got to talk about why these people were finalists, what they did, what you guys don't see that the judges saw, and really explain to the community why these people were selected. And we also got to do that with
and we did that with everyone.
Yeah, we did that with everyone, and we did it with our, top 3 and our best in show, of course, and that really made it very. It took the element of people arguing, away, because it took away that confusion or that element of, people not knowing why was this person selected, because we got to tell them in real time why you guys chose the winners that you did.
Yep.
So it's a very
the only thing that was a struggle with that was the fact that there were so many amazing costumes.
Right.
We ran into the issue where we all wanted to say something about the amazing XYZ of that,
and we did
current costume, and it was something that was wonderful, because it was like, I want to praise this more. Yes.
Yeah. So it's that's kind of like I was saying before, I'm really interested to see the dynamic of our new judges and the commentary that they bring, because in my opinion, we have an even wider scope of expertise among different disciplines this year.
Yeah.
Some returning judges, some, that, I know personally that are new, and then some people I don't know at all that are new, and everyone is bringing so much, but everything's covered on camera and with the honorary judges, and it's we might have to actually do like an honorary judge spotlight where they send in pre-recorded videos talking about, not just their judge's choice, but who won and why and what they loved the most.
Sure.
And do a little video about that to celebrate the best in category and the best in show.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we could add, where if there was a specific comment that somebody had about that person's costume as they're an honorary judge, then they can actually pop in and convey that message,
That would be really special for each of the competitors,
Plus, it also gives them a chance to also be more a part of the live actual event itself.
That's
so
one of the.
We should open that up as an option.
Yeah. That's one of the most frustrating things, is our lineup of honorary judges is just as incredible as our on-stage, committee. And we made the decision to try to do our best to make them more involved, to have them do more things, so that we can, really showcase and highlight and celebrate, those artists and educators. And so we're going to have to get really creative on how the hell we're going to cram all of that content into a show with so many winners.
Under 3.5 hours?
In under 3.5 hours. Is 3.5 hours the over under?
That's
now?
what you said. You said 3.5 hours, right?
3.5 hours would be fair, I think.
Yeah, I think it's gonna go over
but
4.
For people who are so you know, I'm going to use the word thirsty right now. For people who are so thirsty for,
Sure.
you know, a fun, positive, wide-scoped competition and celebration of cosplay.
Yeah.
Because the whole event felt like a small convention, right?
It genuinely did though.
Right.
It
So
genuinely
for it
did.
to
And
go
that was,
for 4 hours, like, was fine. And
you know what it felt like though? Okay, so hear me out. This is really what last year, as a judge, even, this is what last year felt like. It felt just like a normal competition, except the audience was also a part of prejudging.
right.
That's really what it felt like,
Yep.
you know, but also we were doing a panel at the same time.
Yep.
So it really did feel, you think about it, for so much of us though, what do we go to conventions for? To buy some crap, right? To check out the amazing costumes, and then also to check out the costume contest, and then finally to go to a bunch of panels. And we kind of crammed in the majority of that into one thing.
Yep.
Buying a bunch of crap instead was winning a bunch of crap.
Right.
Awesome crap, by the way.
This year we're gonna have, I don't know if we should talk about it, but we will have awesome crap that people can.
Yeah, they're of course we're gonna make a bunch of swag available.
Correct.
And we're figuring out the way that we want to facilitate that
Correct.
process. So we'll let you guys know more hopefully in the next week.
Yep.
And then you think about it though, we also had the amazing costumes because everyone's sitting here basically getting an eye up, you know, view of costumes just, you know, right in front of them, which is better than a convention in some ways.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then you're also getting feedback on these costumes. You know, think about it. You see problems in these costumes sometimes, and you hear a judge solve that problem for you. It teaches you how to solve an issue that
Yeah.
you were struggling with, you know, or people, you see how they did it, and then you can solve your problem.
Yeah.
Like there's such a fountain of knowledge in just watching this kind of competition. And then to top it off, you've got the feedback from the judges again, which is like a panel.
Right.
And then finally, you've got the spectacle of the competition. You know, it's so many of the elements just kind of, you know, popped in a blender and spit out in a different fashion. It's a delicious milkshake of cosplay.
It is. And the only thing it's missing is the after party in the lobby at whatever, you know, bar.
I don't know, because we have the intermissions, you know, so
That's
there's
true.
like
there is that kind of element of community.
the intermissions are like
Yeah.
like your evening between the days of the con,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And then the different you know, the finales, semifinals, etc., kind of like class, if you might, or levels of the competition represent the different days.
Yeah.
We have a whole con.
It really does. And something that Hoku and I have talked about is we want to figure out a way, like obviously we're going to be doing weekly podcasts leading up to the event to try to keep the love alive and get people enthusiastic while they're preparing their things. Something else that I mentioned on my stream the other day that we did not talk about yet is we do have a Discord server right now. It's been where the committee has been planning things, but we're going to open it up to the public maybe tomorrow. I think we're ready
I
for
think
that.
we could have it open up by tomorrow.
So I
That shouldn't
think
be a
I would
problem.
like to make our I think it's just called like the Ultimate Cosplay Discord server is what it's called, and
Yeah.
we're gonna open it up to the public so people can just say like meet each other, say like people can say who's entering or planning on entering. What some people might share what they're working on, some people might keep it a secret, but
Right.
there was so many friendships that developed last year because of this event, not just between competitors, but also between like myself and a lot of people and the judges and people. And like some of the competitors got sponsorships because of their costumes and like
You know what you actually do need to do though?
what?
Sorry to interrupt, but this is something I think we need to express that we're going to do, and I should say it live to hold us accountable. You need to, because we're categorized in different sections, you're allowed to see it, but you actually need to revoke access to the like work in progress section so the judges can't see costumes before they're finished.
I could actually do that.
You should do that. Each of us get assigned a role that cannot enter that category.
like,
And that
I
way the
assigned-
judges
yeah,
don't see your
I
costume.
could actually do that.
Yep.
And I could make
Yeah.
it so that only. Yeah. That
As
would
a
be-
safeguard. it really shouldn't be a problem, but as a safeguard,
Right, yeah.
let's
But no,
commit to that.
like actually that's a good point. Maybe some of the competitors wouldn't want to see wouldn't want the judges to see what they're working on in advance.
Well, it comes down to a bias, really.
That's true.
Is
yeah.
having extra knowledge about a costume beforehand for a judge to process. You know, the fact is, like, I've been in a situation in the past where I've seen somebody's costume
Sure, yeah.
online, and so I can't really hold myself accountable for having that little bit of preview, so to speak. But when it comes down to just so you guys know, I am like absolutely monstrously involved when it comes to figuring out bias and trying to be as unbiased of a judge as possible. And
Yep.
just, I think it's fascinating, right? So in this specific example, it's not fair for a judge to see another person's costume really for any more time than what anybody else is allotted. It's why for prejudging, we get a specific time. You're, as a competitor, you're allowed to use up to that time. And so what that does is that distinction means that you have an equal opportunity.
Right.
And that's where it comes to for me is we shouldn't be seeing those. So block us, ironically enough to say that, right?
No,
so everybody
as
gets a
the
fair
host
share.
and,
Yeah.
and the coordinator of the Discord, I can actually make it so that you guys cannot see any of the work in progress channels. And something else, like I got to, I judged TwitchCon last year, and the world we live in, like I was able to see a lot of what people were working on by accident, just through like social media, where I'd click on one story and it would blend into someone else, and like, by the way, oh, here's one of the finalists, and I'd see what they were doing, how they did it, which I tried to kind of, some of the people I knew, some of the people I didn't, but I didn't want to see it. And I would try to, shield my eyes from that stuff.
Yep. I've done the same thing.
Yeah. So it was, it's very interesting. But like at in-person cons, you see maybe a couple of pictures in advance, but you don't really know what you're dealing with until
everybody gets as
you're
fair of
seeing
a
it
share
in
as they
person.
can get. Yeah. I just want to reiterate for anybody in the chat who's asking questions, we're aware of your questions, but we are going to save answering the majority of them to a final like 10 minutes or so at the very end of this.
Well, you know
I
what?
think we're getting pretty close to that.
We've been streaming for 2 hours. We should probably we should,
okay, let's open it up then.
We only wanted to do this podcast for like an hour and a half at the most. So let's do a little outro thing, and then we'll hang out and answer questions and chat with whoever's hanging out here.
All right.
So anyway, I think we've covered a lot of the new elements and just kind of some of the psychology behind what we're trying to achieve.
There's going to be, for what it's worth, there's going to be probably a lot of that throughout these podcasts is an opportunity to get an insight into not only like our guests' kind of way of thinking, but a lot of like the philosophy that I have personally when it comes to judging, as well as like the construction of a contest. Some of that information could be useful. So I would encourage competitors to sit in here, because keep in mind, like, the better you know me, the better you know what sort of things I might actually notice.
That's true. And they're also going to fall in love with you because you're a likable guy. And then
no, it's going to be hard with you on screen, buddy.
And then, oh, that was a compliment. I picked up on that. Normally I miss those kinds of things, but well, as the host of the show, like, of course I would want people to like me. No one, everyone's supposed to like the host, but I don't really care. My goal is to make sure that the judges have all of the tools they need to, it's my job to facilitate your needs so that you can properly judge, so that awards can be given properly, and everything is fair and goes smoothly. Well, I also have to...
You also do something else, though. Sorry to interrupt, but there's something that is beneficial that I've experienced as a judge, and I've said this to you before, but your actual craftsmanship capacity of your own, like the skill set that you yourself have, you are very good about acting as an intermediary, so to speak, between what the judges might necessarily have in their head and what they're saying, and what somebody else on the opposite end, you're pretty good at conveying messages when, for example, when I go super hyper technical about something, you're like, so here's what he's actually saying, folks.
Which happens a lot. Yes,
it does. You are a good translator
Yeah.
from space brain
I
to
translate from
the real world.
from Hoku to English sometimes.
Actually, I heard a really, really funny description of it. So to kind of somebody called it 1 a.m. brain, which is like that crazy. So I have what I would classify as 1 a.m. brain, where I have this idea at 1 a.m. that I think is fantastic. And I will go and make the extreme, kind of like design of it in 3D. And then what we come to find out is, what do they call it? 2 p.m. brain goes, oh, that was a terrible idea.
I'm starting to think that you're a crazy person with the way you just described that.
Starting?
Well, I mean, ultimately, every single person on our committee has some form of insanity that
This is
they've
probably
learned
true.
to adapt and manage
Yeah.
into their brand and what they produce, which is
Oh,
very
yeah.
exciting. But
Are you ready for this? It's what keeps us sane.
it is, and we kind of keep each other sane, and events like
Yeah.
this help. And sometimes I wonder why people look up to us, because we don't know what we're doing. Like, you know what? I want to save that.
But that's
for
okay.
I want to save that for a future podcast,
Okay.
because
Well, why don't we use that kind of as our ending topic, and we'll talk about it during our next podcast. Is we'll try and answer that question.
yeah, like what
Yeah.
what elements are there about people that get them really interested to pursue, someone else's, passion, or the way they teach, or what are people actually looking for when they're looking for an educator or an influencer
Sure.
or someone to inspire them?
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But there has to be some kind of chemistry that exists, and I want to dive into that with Cutie Pie Sensei next week.
Okay.
And I think that will be a lot of fun.
It'll be a fun little topic.
Yeah.
You know what I
mean? Anyway, thank you so much for hosting this show,
Yeah,
and
of course.
I really look forward to seeing how this
Thank
develops.
you for co-hosting this show.
Oh yeah, I
it's
suppose we are.
yeah.
Yeah, I suppose we're equal, aren't we?
Yeah, we really are.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that actually makes things better as well, is the fact that we as a team are working together on this kind of project. I want to express my thanks for you being willing to come on the show and be a part of it with me, of course. Like, the fact is, like, so much of the opportunities that have occurred since I've met you are because you are so willing to push your limits as well. It's something that gets me excited. And so this competition would not have happened without you. So thank you for getting me involved. Just so you guys know, he literally called me and said, Hoku, I need you.
Right.
And
And I
I
did.
said, I'm here for you.
And I still do. And we didn't spend a lot of time thinking about whether or not we should do it this year. We just did it.
It was more like we kind of felt like we needed to.
Yeah. But
You know,
anyway,
we had to.
we need to wrap this up because
I
we're
know.
literally over time right now. So
Okay.
I'm
All
going to
right.
say thank you to everyone who watched this live and the recording.
What are your socials?
Oh yeah, and everyone, by the way, everyone watching in chat, we're gonna wrap this up for the YouTube part, and then we're gonna hang out with you guys and answer questions for a few minutes. So don't go anywhere. But anyway, you can find me at TockCustom.com. You can learn more about this contest at TockCustom.com/cosplay contest, or you can go to, what is it? The Ultimate Cosplay
The Ultimate
Championship.
Cosplay Championship.com. Yeah.
We'll put the
I'll
link
post it
in
chat.
things and stuff and on camera, whatever. But anyway, yeah, just at TockCustom on all platforms, period. And I didn't really talk about myself and my craft a whole lot on this podcast, but that's not what this podcast is about.
Nope.
Anyway, what are your socials and where can people find you?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. Hi, guys. You can find me at HokuProps.com. It's got links to all of the different galleries and pictures and stuff I make, as well as a fantastic web store of wonderful 3D models. And then also, of course, twitch.tv, HokuProps, YouTube, HokuProps, everything.
Yep.
Google HokuProps, you'll find everything you need. And I just want to say I look forward to the next session we have here on our podcast.
Yep.
So take it easy, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you guys
Bye.
for watching.